Amanda Morgan sighed as she carefully stacked another box labeled Kitchen against the wall of their new colonial-style home in Oak Ridge, Connecticut. 3 weeks into their move, and the unpacking process seemed endless. The September afternoon sunlight streamed through the bay windows, illuminating floating dust particles in the air. "Sophie, where are you, sweetie?" Amanda called out, pushing a strand of auburn hair from her forehead. No response came from the second floor, where her 8-year-old daughter had disappeared to after lunch. Amanda climbed the creaking stairs, the worn wood beneath her feet a reminder of the home's history. The Morgan family was only the third to own the 1920s house, purchased at a surprisingly reasonable price, a blessing for a recently divorced single mother trying to make a fresh start. "Sophie, everything okay?" Amanda called again, walking down the hallway toward her daughter's room. The door was ajar, and Amanda found Sophie sitting cross-legged on the hardwood floor, hunched over a piece of paper, colored pencils scattered around her. Sophie's dark curls fell forward, obscuring her face as she concentrated intently on her drawing. "There you are," Amanda said, leaning against the doorframe. "What are you working on?" Sophie didn't look up but continued shading with a black pencil. "Just drawing." Amanda stepped closer and crouched beside her daughter. On the paper was a familiar scene, one she'd seen several times in the past 2 weeks. It showed a closet door, slightly open, with what appeared to be a dark figure or shadow visible in the gap. "That's interesting, honey. Is this the same drawing from yesterday?" Amanda asked carefully, trying to keep her voice light. Sophie nodded, adding more detail to the dark shape. "It's what I see when the closet door is open." A chill ran down Amanda's spine despite the warm afternoon. She glanced at Sophie's closet door, which was closed at the moment. The house was old, with peculiar shadows and strange acoustics that played tricks on the mind. Still, this was the 4th nearly identical drawing Sophie had made since they'd moved in. "Do you see something in your closet, sweetie?" Amanda asked. Sophie shrugged. "Sometimes when I wake up, the door is open a little bit, and I can see it standing there." Amanda stood up and walked to the closet, pulling the door open wide. Inside were Sophie's hung clothes, shoes on the floor, and a few storage bins. Nothing unusual. "See? Nothing to worry about," Amanda said, forcing a smile. "It's probably just shadows from the tree outside your window. This house is new to us, and sometimes our minds play tricks when we're getting used to new places." Sophie looked unconvinced. "It's not always there. Only sometimes. Usually after bedtime." Amanda sat on the edge of Sophie's bed. "Moving to a new house can be scary. I get nervous too sometimes, hearing all the new sounds. But I promise you, there's nothing in your closet." "Can we put a lock on it?" Sophie asked. Amanda hesitated. "I don't think we need to go that far. How about we leave your nightlight on and make sure the closet door stays completely closed before bed?" Sophie nodded reluctantly and returned to her drawing, adding more detail to the shadowy figure. Later that evening, after tucking Sophie in, Amanda sat at her kitchen table with a glass of red wine, scrolling through emails on her laptop. Her mind kept returning to Sophie's drawings. Children often develop fixations during times of change. The move, the divorce from Sophie's father, David, 6 months ago, all of it was bound to manifest somehow. Her phone buzzed with a text from Elaine, their real estate agent. "How's everything in the new house? Settling in okay?" Amanda typed back, "Getting there." Sophie seems fixated on her closet, though, keeps drawing it with some kind of shadow figure inside. "Normal kid stuff, or should I be concerned?" Elaine's response came quickly. "Kids and their imaginations. The Harrises lived there for 40 years before moving to Florida, and their kids grew up just fine. Old houses make noises. I'm sure it's just her adjusting." Amanda put down her phone and sipped her wine. Maybe she was overreacting. Still, something about the intensity of Sophie's focus on these drawings unsettled her. The following morning, Amanda found another drawing on Sophie's desk, more detailed than the previous ones. The closet door was wider open, and the shadowy figure seemed more defined, almost like a person crouching, Sophie had added what looked like eyes, two small circles of white amid the darkness. "Sophie," Amanda called downstairs, "can you come here for a minute?" Sophie appeared in the doorway, already dressed for school in jeans and a purple sweater. "Did you make this last night?" Amanda asked, holding up the drawing. Sophie nodded. "I woke up and saw it again. The door was open." Amanda frowned. "But we made sure it was closed before bedtime." "It opened by itself," Sophie said matter-of-factly. Amanda checked the closet door, testing how it swung. The house had settled over decades, and many of the doors didn't align perfectly with their frames. This one did swing open slightly, if not properly latched. "I think I know what's happening," Amanda said. "See how the door swings open if it's not fully closed? It's probably just moving on its own during the night because of air currents or the house settling." Sophie didn't look convinced, but didn't argue. After dropping Sophie at school, Amanda called David, her ex-husband who now lived in Chicago. "She's drawing what?" David asked, his voice tinged with concern and something else. Blame, perhaps. "The same closet, over and over, with some kind of shadow figure inside," Amanda explained. "I think the move has her imagination working overtime." "I told you moving across the country wasn't a good idea," David said. "She needs stability, Amanda, not more change." Amanda suppressed a sigh. "This was the only way I could afford a house in a good school district after the divorce. Besides, your new job in Chicago hardly screams stability." "Have you asked her therapist about it?" "Not yet. I wanted to see if it passes first. Kids fixate on things temporarily all the time." "Well, keep me posted," David said. "I'll FaceTime her tonight." That afternoon, Amanda met with Sophie's new teacher, Ms. Bennett, for a parent-teacher conference. As they discussed Sophie's adjustment to the new school, Amanda mentioned the drawings. "Actually," Ms. Bennett said, sliding a paper across her desk, "she drew this during art class yesterday. It was another closet drawing, but this one showed more of the room around it. Clearly Sophie's bedroom, with its distinctive wallpaper pattern that had come with the house." "Has Sophie mentioned what these drawings mean to her?" Ms. Bennett asked. "Just that it's what she sees when her closet door is open," Amanda replied. "I've looked, of course. There's nothing there." Ms. Bennett nodded thoughtfully. "Children sometimes process change through repetitive actions or art. The closet might symbolize something hidden or unknown to her, maybe feelings about the move or the divorce. So you think it's normal? I wouldn't say abnormal, but it's definitely worth paying attention to. Has she had any specific traumas associated with closets before?" Amanda shook her head. "No, nothing like that." "Then I'd just keep an open dialogue. Ask her about the drawings without judgment. Sometimes kids need to work through things in their own way." That night, Amanda heard a thump from upstairs as she was washing dishes. She dried her hands and went to investigate, finding Sophie standing in her darkened bedroom, staring at her closet. The door was open about 6 inches. "Sophie, what are you doing up, honey?" Sophie pointed at the closet. "It's in there again." Amanda flicked on the light switch and approached the closet. "Let's look together, okay?" She pulled the door fully open. "See, just your clothes and toys." Sophie peered inside, then looked up at her mother with confusion. "It was there. I saw it." Amanda knelt to Sophie's eye level. "Sweetie, I think your eyes are playing tricks on you. When we're tired or in a dark room, sometimes shadows can look like something else." "But it moved," Sophie insisted. Amanda helped Sophie back to bed, then returned to the closet. She examined it more carefully this time, running her hand along the inside walls. The closet was deep, extending into what should be the wall shared with the master bathroom. She noticed a slight inconsistency in the back panel. It seemed newer than the surrounding wood. The next day, while Sophie was at school, Amanda searched online for the history of their house. Built in 1924, it had indeed been owned by the Harris family from 1980 until last year. Before them, the Whitakers had owned it from 1924 to 1980. Nothing unusual appeared in the property records. She turned her attention to the house's layout, comparing it to similar colonial homes of the era. Something seemed off about the dimensions of Sophie's bedroom closet. It extended further back than it should, given the bathroom's position on the other side of the wall. That afternoon, Amanda called her father, a retired contractor. "Dad, is it possible there's some kind of space between Sophie's closet and my bathroom? The dimensions seem weird." In those old colonials, they often had small storage spaces or even passages between rooms. Could be something like that, maybe sealed off during a renovation. "Why do you ask?" "Sophie keeps drawing her closet with someone in it. It's probably nothing, but if you're concerned, I can drive up this weekend and take a look," he offered. "Thanks, Dad. I'd appreciate that." That night, Amanda was awakened by the sound of Sophie's voice. She hurried to her daughter's room and found Sophie sitting up in bed, pointing at her closet. "It opened again," Sophie whispered. Amanda saw that the closet door was indeed ajar. A draft from the heating vent must have pushed it open. "I'll close it properly," Amanda said, moving toward the closet. As she reached for the handle, she heard something, a faint scratching sound from within. Amanda froze, her heart suddenly pounding. "Did you hear that?" Sophie asked, clutching her blanket. "It's probably just the house settling," Amanda said, though uncertainty crept into her voice. She pulled the door open wider and peered inside. Nothing but shadows and hanging clothes. Amanda pushed aside the clothing and examined the back wall more carefully. In the dim light, she noticed what appeared to be a thin seam running vertically along the back panel. She pressed on it, and the panel gave slightly. A false wall? Amanda closed the closet door firmly and secured it with a chair under the handle. "There, it won't open now." "But what if it's trapped in there?" Sophie asked. "There's nothing in there, sweetie, I promise. Now try to get some sleep, okay?" After Sophie fell asleep, Amanda sat in the hallway outside her room, laptop open, researching the history of their house more thoroughly. An old newspaper article caught her attention. "Renovation reveals hidden features in historic Oak Ridge home." The article, dated 1979, discussed how the Harris family had discovered original architectural features during their renovation of the house, including sealed passages once used by household staff to move between rooms unobtrusively. Amanda's phone buzzed with a text from her father. "On my way first thing tomorrow morning. Should be there by 10. Don't do anything until I arrive." Amanda replied, "Thanks, Dad. I think there might be some kind of sealed passage in Sophie's closet." She stared at Sophie's door, listening to the old house creak and settle around her. Whatever was behind that false wall in the closet, she would find out tomorrow. For tonight, the chair would keep the door secure. As Amanda finally drifted off to sleep in her own room, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was awakening in their new home. Not something supernatural, but perhaps a long-buried secret, now stirring after years of silence. The morning sunlight struggled through the overcast October sky as Amanda paced the kitchen, waiting for her father's arrival. Sophie sat at the breakfast table, quietly pushing cereal around her bowl, dark circles beneath her eyes, testifying to another restless night. "Grandpa's coming to fix your closet today," Amanda said, trying to sound cheerful. Sophie looked up. "Will he make the person go away?" Amanda hesitated. "Honey, I don't think there's actually a person in there, but Grandpa's going to help us figure out what's making those noises." The doorbell rang, and Sophie's face brightened. "Grandpa?" Amanda's father, Robert Miller, stood on the porch with a toolbox and duffel bag. At 67, he remained robust, his weathered hands testament to decades in construction. "There's my girls," he said, embracing Sophie first, then Amanda. "So I hear we've got a mystery to solve." While Sophie showed Robert her drawings, Amanda made coffee. When Sophie went to get more artwork from her room, Robert examined the most detailed drawing closely. "The proportions in this are interesting," he murmured. "She's quite observant." "What do you mean?" Amanda asked. "The shadowy figure. It's not just random. Look at the size and posture. If there was someone in there, that's exactly how they'd appear from her vantage point." He set down the drawing. "Let's take a look." Upstairs, Robert inspected Sophie's closet methodically, tapping walls and measuring distances with a laser tool. "Just as I suspected," he said after several minutes. "There's definitely space behind this wall, about 3 feet deep and running the length of the closet. And these marks, he pointed to faint scratches near the edge of the back panel, suggest the panel has been moved recently. Amanda's mouth went dry. Recently, you mean? Robert held up a hand. Let's not jump to conclusions. In these old houses, sometimes animals find their way into wall spaces. Could be raccoons or squirrels. Sophie, why don't you go downstairs and watch some TV while Grandpa works? Amanda suggested. Once Sophie had left, Robert turned to Amanda with a serious expression. I'm going to remove this panel. Stand back. Using a pry bar, he carefully worked around the edges of the back wall. With a soft creak, the panel came loose, revealing a dark space beyond. Robert shone his flashlight into the opening. Well, I'll be damned! Amanda peered over his shoulder and gasped. Behind the wall was a narrow passage, about 3 feet wide, with another opening visible at the far end. It's a service corridor, Robert explained. Common in these old houses. Allowed staff to move between rooms without disturbing the family. This one connects to the master bathroom on the other side, I'd bet. Amanda's concern deepened. But you said there were marks, suggesting it's been used recently? Robert nodded grimly. Let's check it out. They entered the narrow passage carefully. The beam of Robert's flashlight revealed cobwebs and dust, but also disturbed areas where someone had clearly moved through. At the far end was another panel, which Robert easily pushed open, confirming it led to a false back in Amanda's bathroom cabinet. This explains how the closet door kept opening, Robert said. Air currents through this passage would create enough pressure to move a door that's not latched properly. But the scratching sounds, and these footprints in the dust? Amanda pointed to distinct tracks on the floor. Robert crouched to examine them. These are recent. Very recent. A cold dread settled in Amanda's stomach. Dad, are you saying someone's been in our house? Before Robert could answer, Amanda's phone rang. It was Elaine, her real estate agent. Amanda, thank goodness you answered. I just heard something alarming and needed to warn you immediately. What is it? Amanda asked, heart racing. The Harris family, the previous owners, their son Mitchell is back in town. He has mental health issues and disappeared from his residential facility in Florida 3 weeks ago. Police think he might be trying to return to his childhood home. Amanda nearly dropped her phone. 3 weeks ago. That's right when we moved in. I'm so sorry, Elaine continued. The Harrises didn't mention Mitchell when selling because he's been institutionalized for years. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia in his 20s and became fixated on the house, especially the hidden passages his father sealed up. The police are on their way to your address now. Amanda ended the call and turned to her father, voice shaking. We need to get Sophie and leave the house. Now. They hurried downstairs, but Sophie wasn't in the living room, where the TV played cartoons to an empty couch. Sophie? Amanda called, panic rising in her throat. Mummy? Sophie's voice came from the kitchen. There's a man in the backyard. Amanda rushed to the kitchen window. In the backyard stood a gaunt man in his 40s wearing dirty clothes, gazing up at the house with an unsettling intensity. Get away from the window, Amanda ordered, pulling Sophie back. Dad, call 911. Already did, Robert said, phone in hand. Police are 3 minutes out. A sudden crash from upstairs made them all freeze. He must have a way in from outside, too, Robert whispered, probably through the old coal chute. Amanda clutched Sophie to her chest, backing toward the front door. We need to get out now. As they moved through the living room, a figure appeared at the top of the stairs, the same gaunt man from the yard, now inside their house. His clothes were filthy, his eyes wild and unfocused. You're in my room, he said in a hoarse voice. Mother said I could come home if I was quiet. I've been so quiet. Robert stepped protectively in front of Amanda and Sophie. Mitchell, the police are coming. You need help. Mitchell's face contorted with anger. No, they'll take me away again. This is my house. He started down the stairs toward them. The wail of police sirens outside froze him in his tracks. Mitchell's eyes darted around frantically before he turned and fled back upstairs. Moments later, police officers entered through the front door. Everyone okay? One asked, as his partner headed upstairs in pursuit. He's in the hidden passage, Amanda explained quickly. Behind my daughter's closet. The officers radioed for backup as Robert led them upstairs to show them the entrance. Within minutes, they located Mitchell hiding in the narrow space, cowering against the wall. "Please don't hurt me," Mitchell whimpered as they handcuffed him. "I just wanted to go home." As the police escorted Mitchell outside, a middle-aged couple rushed up the driveway, the man bald with glasses, the woman with graying blonde hair and a distraught expression. "Mitchell!" the woman cried. "Mr. and Mrs. Harris?" an officer asked. The woman nodded tearfully. "We flew up as soon as the facility called us. Is he okay? Did he hurt anyone?" "Everyone's safe," the officer assured her. "Your son will be taken for medical evaluation." Mrs. Harris approached Amanda, who stood on the porch, still holding Sophie tightly. "I'm Helen Harris. I can't express how sorry we are. Mitchell lived in this house until he was 23. When his illness worsened, he became obsessed with the servant passages his father sealed up. He believed they were his special hiding places. He's been living in our walls for 3 weeks, Amanda said, unable to keep the accusation from her voice. Mr. Harris stepped forward. "We had no idea he'd come back here. When we sold the house, he was stable, living in a supervised facility near us in Florida." His voice broke. "He must have stopped taking his medication and fixated on returning home." Detective Lisa Crane arrived shortly after, taking statements from everyone. In Sophie's room, she examined the closet and passage carefully. "It appears Mitchell has been entering and exiting through several access points," she explained to Amanda. "Based on the evidence, he's been sleeping in the attic during the day and moving through the passages at night, occasionally entering the main house to take food." "That's what Sophie's been drawing," Amanda realized. She saw him watching her through the partially open closet door. Detective Crane nodded. "Children are often more perceptive than we give them credit for." She knew something was wrong, but didn't have the words to explain it. That evening, after the police had gone, and Mitchell had been taken to a psychiatric facility, Amanda sat with Sophie in the living room of their disrupted home. Robert had secured all the hidden entrances temporarily, promising to permanently seal them over the weekend. "So there really was a man in my closet," Sophie said quietly. "I wasn't making it up." Amanda hugged her daughter close. "No, sweetie, you weren't. You were very brave and very smart to keep drawing what you saw. Those drawings helped us figure out what was happening." "Is the man bad?" Sophie asked. Amanda chose her words carefully. "No, he's not bad. He's sick and confused. He used to live here when he was younger, and in his mind, this is still his home. But he needs special doctors to help him, and that's where he's going now." "Will he come back?" "No, honey. Grandpa's fixing all the secret passages, and the police know to keep a special watch on our house." Later, after Sophie had finally fallen into a peaceful sleep, Amanda sat with her father in the kitchen. "I don't know if we can stay here," she admitted. "After everything that's happened," Robert took a sip of his coffee. "It's your decision, of course. But consider this, the house itself isn't the problem. Now that we know about these passages, we can seal them properly. And in a strange way, this place protected you both." "Protected us? How?" "Mitchell had plenty of opportunities to harm you if that had been his intention. Instead, he just wanted a familiar place to hide. And Sophie's drawings, the house gave her a way to communicate what was happening, even when she couldn't find the words." Amanda considered this. "I suppose you're right. Old houses have stories, Amanda. This one just happened to have a secret chapter you weren't told about. Now you know the full story, and you can decide how to write the next chapter." The following week, with her father's help, Amanda had all the hidden passages properly sealed and security systems installed. The Harris family reached out with both profound apologies and an offer to help with any renovations needed. Mitchell, now back on his medication, was transferred to a more secure facility where he could receive appropriate care. Mrs. Harris visited once before returning to Florida, bringing old photos of the house and explaining its history, including the original servant passages that her husband had partially sealed during renovations in the early 1980s. We should have disclosed them when we sold the house, she admitted. But after living here for 40 years without incident, we honestly forgot their significance to Mitchell. His illness hadn't manifested until years after the renovations. As October turned to November, Sophie stopped drawing the closet. Instead, her artwork featured their house from the outside, with all three of them, Sophie, Amanda, and Grandpa Robert, standing together in front. One evening, as Amanda tucked Sophie into bed, her daughter asked, "Are we going to move again?" Amanda looked around the room, now repainted in Sophie's chosen lavender color, with string lights draped across the ceiling like stars. "Do you want to move?" Sophie thought for a moment, then shook her head. "I like it here now that the scary man is gone, and I like my new school." "Then we'll stay," Amanda said, relieved by her daughter's resilience. "This is our home now, and we know all its secrets." As she closed Sophie's bedroom door, leaving it open just a crack the way her daughter preferred, Amanda felt the house settling around them, not with ominous creaks, but with the comfortable sounds of a home embracing its new family. In the coming months, Amanda would learn more about the house's history, meet neighbors who shared stories of the area's past, and slowly transform the once mysterious space into a true home. The hidden passages, now permanently sealed, became just another chapter in the house's long story, a reminder that sometimes the things we fear most are simply truths waiting to be discovered. And Sophie's drawings, once a source of concern, were collected and framed, a testament to a child's perception and the power of bearing witness, even when the adults around you aren't yet ready to see.